Hi, my name's Aaron Kyle, and I'm a realtor with eXp Realty, and I'm here today with...
Ryan Beatty, a home inspector with Notable Inspections.
So I kind of brought Ryan here kind of against his will,
I'll say it.
but I wanted to have a moment, take a moment to ask an inspector some direct questions, things that we don't always get to ask when we're out in the field at a house with a buyer. So, I receive lots of literature and business cards from other inspectors all the time, and it's hard to kind of differentiate between inspectors and what sets them aside from one another. I know from my perspective as a realtor, one of my biggest fears is that the inspector is going to scare the you-know-what out of my clients. So how do you engage with a client that kind of prevents that from happening?
Right, I'm not going to walk around and just say, that's broken, that's broken, that's broken. I actually perform my inspections by my motto, which is inspections to educate, not intimidate. And so I encourage the buyer to come to the walkthrough at the very end of the inspection. After I've completed my inspection, it's much easier to have a visual, whether we do the walkthrough over Skype or FaceTime if they can't be there in person, or preferred they come in person, because the Texas Real Estate Commission standard inspection report form that every inspector in the state of Texas has to use is highly intimidating.
Yes, it is.
And we don't want to intimidate the buyer. For a quick example, the little GFCI label that has to be on a GFCI protected plug, if that happens to be missing on just one outlet in the house, it makes the electrical for the whole house considered deficient. And so it's much easier to do a walkthrough and explain other things that are deficient that really may not be a big deal.
Yeah, I appreciate that as an agent because, while I understand it all needs to be laid out for the buyer on an inspection report, sometimes it helps me when you talk to the buyer and you let them know, hey, this is like a $3 item. It's not going to be that big of a deal.
Right, and there's a lot of things I have to write up too that may just be a home maintenance item. A lot of it can just be code changes since the house was built. Or it may even be, because Texas is so big, TREC has their own set of code called their SOP that we inspectors inspect to. So there may be something such as a sprinkler backflow preventer that TREC says is deficient, but the city of Corinth says you don't have to have it.
Yeah.
So.
I have a lot of buyers come to me, even sellers will ask, hey, did my inspection pass or fail? How do you answer that?
I get that one all the time too. And I just tell them there is no pass or fail. A home inspection is just like your annual physical with your doctor. I report the home and its components as it was at the time of inspection.
Excellent. I think it might be a little beneficial, especially for new agents or even existing agents who are only there at the very end and don't really know what you do throughout this process. Why are you scheduling 4 hours? Can you kind of describe the process to me from beginning to end?
Sure. So my process begins as soon as I get a call from a customer or a buyer. First of all, I tell them a little bit about what we already talked about with the highly intimidating inspection form, and can you please come to a walkthrough, or what time is going to work best for you. I don't need any financial information, but I do ask what loan type they have, because different loan types have different requirements, such as a VA loan requires a wood-destroying insect report, so I will have to coordinate with my termite company that I use, their services as well. I contact CSS and set up the showing, as they call it, for generally 3 to 4 hours, because I have to inspect the entire home and it takes that long to do. I then also contact the listing agent and give them a list of reminders for the seller to prepare for, such as if the home's vacant, leave all the utilities on, make sure that I have access to electric panels, water heaters, crawl spaces, attics. You'd be surprised at what people lock up in their house. And they're cute fuzzy pets. They're really nice, but I really don't need them following me around for 3 hours either, or barking at me, or that sort of thing. So they either need to be removed or put in a kennel for the inspection.
And that reminder is good for a lot of listing agents. It helps them go back to their clients, and especially it's beneficial for the buyer. That's their 4 hours that they're having home inspected, and they want it, they're paying for it. They want it inspected thoroughly, so without pets and boxes being in the way of breaker panels. So I know, we're building a house, and I have, with limited inventory here in DFW, we have a lot of clients that we are turning towards new construction. And they're asking me, why do we need an inspection? Isn't that kind of the job of the builder? What do you say to that?
Well, the builder so many builders actually have their own inspectors.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that those inspectors work for the builder. I work for the buyer. I'm third party, unbiased, and you have to remember that the builder's building, in these new neighborhoods, you have builders building 15, 20 houses at a time. They're gonna miss something.
Yeah, especially on neighborhoods where there's 500 homes in there.
Right, and with new construction too, you also have the opportunity for a phased inspection, which allows me to go in before the drywall's been put on and look for things that have been done incorrectly. Often it's the boring of, maybe this is boring, but the boring of the studs for electrical wires. Electricians are not framers, so they may cut something and do something wrong to the framing that they don't know that they're doing wrong.
I know you've caught it on a couple of my inspections where they were new construction, and the roof, right after the framing's done, the roof goes up immediately and no one really checks it after that. Well, in DFW, in Texas, this part of North Texas, we have hailstorms. And if you hadn't done that phased inspection, that roof, that hail damage never would have been caught on that roof.
Right, I remember that one, that the buyer in the end ended up getting an entire new roof.
Entirely new roof. And, the builder never would have caught it. And no one from the city was going to catch that. So, well, I appreciate it. I'm going to have a ton more questions. If you have any comments, questions below, feel free to ask below, or you can reach out to each one of us individually. On Facebook, I am at Aaron Kyle Realtor, and Ryan is
Facebook.com/notableinspections or notableinspections.com.
Thanks. This is the agent and the inspector, and we will see you next time. Is there anything on my teeth?
No, there's something up your nose.
That's a wrap.